So I started off on the consulting side of doing risk analysis, and then when I came back from graduate school, I took over as CFO of the company, and then also helped develop our international division.
Nice. So you're a financial wizard, is that what you're saying?
No, not a wizard at all. But,
Matt Woolley Podcast.
Welcome to another edition of the Matt Woolley Podcast. I'm so glad you guys have tuned in. Please like and subscribe. We love those subscriptions and those likes. I have a very special guest today, Bret Raymond. Now, full transparency, This is our first time to meet Bret. Now, I had many people refer me to you, but had a chance to talk to you for about an hour yesterday. But other than that, so this is going to be different because most of the people I have on the podcast I'm very familiar with. Yeah. But I'm not familiar with you. But it's going to be all right.
Well, we get to know each other, you know.
We're going to do it. We're going to do it in real time.
That's right. How relationships start. Here we go.
So thanks for being here, Bret.
My pleasure. Thanks for the invitation.
Okay, so as we do on the Matt Woolley Podcast, we go through the history that is Bret. So who is Bret? You're a graduate of Harding University and Pepperdine. I can't pronounce that.
Pepperdine. Yeah.
Pepperdine, sorry.
Waves, yeah.
Oh, that's right. Forgive me. See, we're rough storm. Business school. You were then an auditor at Ernst Young. You're a chief financial officer at Raymond Professional Management, a missionary, community development specialist, and young families pastor at Shiloh Road Church. Director of Sales and Operations at Wellness Quest Medical Clinic, Chief Executive Officer and President of Asia Development Management Group and First Asia, First Asia Development?
Yeah,
okay.
that was the foundation side of the for-profit business.
Okay, yeah. Awesome. And then you were co-founder and Chief Operating Officer for Manna Nutritive Aid Product, Chief Advocate for Pure Charity, co-founder and CEO of the Pack Shack, and General Manager of Neighborly Food Company. Bret, you've been all over the board.
Yeah, my wife just says I can't keep a job, which some of that's been true at different times on the journey, but All
right, well, let's start. Where is Bret from? Where were you born and raised?
Yeah, so I was born and raised predominantly in Ohio, Central Ohio, and then after one particularly brutal winter, my dad said we're moving to Southern California. So we lived out in Southern Cal for 3 years when I was in elementary school.
Wow, what was that like?
It was warm.
Right, now it's just saying.
Yeah, no, everything that he wanted to avoid, we avoided.
Well, he really had enough.
Yeah, he'd had enough of that winter, and so then we moved back to Ohio when I started junior high, just like people do. They want to get back to their roots and what's important to them, and so so we did. So I finished up school there, and then I went to undergrad at Harding in Searcy, and then I moved up to Nashville, and I'm an auditor, CPA by trade.
Hang on, let's slow down. So how did you transition to Harding, of all places?
Yeah, like so many things in my life, I just follow invitations. And there was a guy from our home church in Ohio, and when he graduated from Harding, he was going to go to work for my dad. And he was a fifth-year senior at Harding, and he called me when I was a senior in high school, and he said, "Hey, do you want to come visit where I go to college?" And I said, "Well, what's that?" And he said, "Harding University." And so to put this in context, in my hometown in Ohio, there was a mental institution called Harding Hospital. And so I was immediately thinking, where are you in school, bro? Because that doesn't... My mom could never wear the Harding mom sweatshirt, or my kid and my money go to Harding. Like, none of that could happen.
Oh, man, that's amazing.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that. No bumper stickers for you.
No bumper stickers. And even like our little small town newspaper, when they used to publish where all the kids were going to college and what they were going to study, they said, well, Bret's going to Harding University to study psychiatry, because they just assumed that it was related to this mental institution. Anyway, but so he invited me to come and visit Harding, and I did. My parents let me drive from Ohio to Arkansas by myself.
Had you ever been to Arkansas?
No.
So you
In fact, I didn't even know where it was.
Wow.
And so I looked it up on a map, and I said, well, I guess I'll come. He said, I'll tell you what, I'll pay your application fee of $25, which is big money to a high school student in the 80s. And so I went, and, there was just never a reason not to go there. It wasn't like I was just like immediately was like, I'm going there, but of the schools I was looking at, everything had a reason to not go, but I could never find a reason not to go to Harding.
That's awesome.
And so I went.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so that's how I ended up in Arkansas.
That's really cool. So I have to ask this because much different country than what you were used to at the time.
Yeah.
So you drove in.
Mm-hmm.
So
in August. I mean, that says enough right there. Yeah, it was hot, and my car didn't have AC like a lot of cars.
Man. Well, when you're young, it's not as, but it's still great. But it's not, you can push through it.
Yeah.
So what was that like? I mean, were you thinking, what have I?
A little bit, I remember because I grew up just outside of Columbus, Ohio, so big metro area.
Yeah.
And so making that drive from Memphis to Bald Knob and down to Searcy, there wasn't really anything in between except, farmland, which we had a lot of farmland in Ohio, but not as much as Arkansas has for sure. But I remember just people being so kind, like everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
It was just,
yeah.
And even, Searcy was great. I loved my time at Harding. I met fantastic people and ultimately met my wife because I went to Harding. And,
there you go.
And so I have nothing but great memories of my time at Harding and in college. Yeah.
That's great. So in your career step, so how did you transition, did you go, you have to forgive me, I'm looking at your resume.
Yeah.
Did you go directly from Harding to the business school?
Yeah. Well, no. I went to Ernst Young in Nashville.
Okay.
And I was an auditor. And I loved it. Absolutely loved it.
You love being an auditor.
I loved it. I was in did a lot of manufacturing audits. And I love factories and everything about that. So
I do have a soft spot for a good place.
I just had there's something about stainless steel machines just making noise that is fun.
Yeah, producing
pumping
stuff
out
efficiently.
Stuff. Exactly. Yeah. Loved it, and then had an opportunity. My dad had started a consulting company down in Atlanta, and it was growing really quickly. And so he asked if I would come and be like on the financial risk analysis team. And so it was going from, this huge accounting audit firm down to a small family business. And so I worked for my dad for 7 years. And during that time, I took a year off to go to grad school. But I wouldn't trade those years of working with my dad for anything.
Oh, man, that's special.
Yeah, it was. Special. It totally was. And up until time we ended up selling the company and transitioned at that point to
that's cool, man.
Something different.
Not many people can say that. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I was really thankful. And my brother worked there too.
So, oh, wow.
And my mom worked there.
Oh, man, we had truly family run.
Yeah, it was family run, but we had 30 consultants, and so it was small and tight knit, but it wasn't just family. It was their relationships I still have to this day.
That's fantastic. Yeah. That's wonderful. Okay, so then you become the chief financial officer for Raymond Professional Management. Is that what you were doing there?
Yeah. So I started off on the consulting side of doing risk analysis, and then when I came back from graduate school, I took over as CFO of the company, and then also helped develop our international division.
Nice. So you're a financial wizard, is that what you're saying?
No, not a wizard at all. But, had enough working knowledge to make some contributions in a small business for sure.
Okay, so then we take a big jump here. So I see all of a sudden you're a missionary, a community development specialist, and a youth pastor, essentially.
Yeah, it was an interesting time. So, right out of college, a friend invited me to go visit Romania a couple of years after the revolution, and I'd only been out of the country one time, and it was when my brother was in the army in West Germany. We went to visit. And I didn't really have any plans to leave the country. I didn't have some grand idea that I would go see the world or any of that. I'm an accountant. I mean, what I'm totally risk averse, right? Like in that way. But so my friend invited me to go. So whatever reason, I said yes. And so I went to Romania, and it just really opened my eyes to different, not a different part of the world, sure, but like the fact that that there were people like me with hopes and dreams that were similar to mine in another part of the world, you know, and so I went back to Romania several times over the next 4 years, sometimes by myself, sometimes with groups of people. And I remember coming back from a trip that I took my parents on as well. So they went with me to Romania.
That's special.
And it gave them a perspective of where I was feeling led, which was, I think I need to go see what living in a developing country is like. This is pre-internet, you know, stuff. Yeah. So, you know, the only way to stay in touch with people was snail mail and some email, but not so much in Romania. That infrastructure really wasn't there. And it was hard to build relationships with people. And so I just really felt like I need to go and see if I can contribute proactively to the world in some way. And so that was what led, one of the things that had led my dad to sell the company. Not the only factor, but it contributed. And so that was the last 2 years of my job working with him, was doing my normal job and then positioning the company for sale, and then, you know, finding the buyers for it. So yeah.
That's cool.
So then my wife and I moved to Uganda.
What?
Well, again, so I talk about these invitations. So when we sold the company in 1998, then my wife and I took about 3 months, and we went to Burma, we went to Cambodia and Thailand, and ended up in Uganda, and where we had a number of friends from college. And they invited us to come and join the work that they were doing in rural communities in eastern Uganda. And so we said yes. And my wife was in med school at the time in Little Rock, but we said yes. And so she took a leave of absence from med school that turned into a permanent leave, and we moved to Uganda. And,
wow.
Yeah, I mean, it's life transforming for sure. Of just, again, you run into the same kinds of people all over the world.
Yeah.
A lot of people with similar hopes and dreams, not only for themselves, but for their kids. And they might speak a different language and eat some different food and wear different clothes or whatever. But at the heart, at the heart, we're all just human, you know?
That's awesome. So, I mean, that obviously, I mean, you speak passionately about that. That definitely changed your perspective on life, right? Yeah. I mean, what other takeaways did you get from that? I mean, like that exposure. And I'm a guy that's not very worldly in that sense. You know, I haven't been all over the world, so. Well,
I would say there's nothing noble about going to different parts of the world. It was the experience that I've been given, you know. The biggest takeaways for me are that there are incredible people everywhere, and they're all they all reflect the image of God in unique ways. And different cultures have just really compelling aspects to them, you know. And sometimes you hear people, they'll come back and they say, "Oh man, I wish it were like this, you know, in America or whatever." I can appreciate our culture as it is without feeling like I need to import things from other cultures that I appreciated about theirs. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But also just the fact that, you know, some people's opportunities are limited based on where they're born. And we've heard this of, you know, a lot of life is predicted based on your zip code or whatever. And in developing countries, you know, there are different opportunities, limits to opportunities because of that. I mean, we take advantage of an American passport that allows us to travel freely almost anywhere in the world, right? And that's not the case for everybody else.
Yeah.
You know, it's really a luxury that we have. But just finding people who are so creative and so ingenious. We used to say, people on our team that we worked with would say, like, we would all have died in a Ugandan village if we had to raise our own food, if we had to walk and get our own water and carry 40 pounds of water back on our shoulders or heads even just surviving sickness without basic medical treatment, and we would all have perished pretty quickly.
You rely on your own food and your own immune system.
Yeah,
that's basically it.
Yeah, and so what we learned is that people really rely on each other a lot and help each other.
It's great.
And I think a lot of our grandparents would tell stories that were similar. So it hasn't always been the situation that we have now in our country, where there are a lot of other ways that people can be supported in difficult times or in times of need. We have a lot of ways that we have set up to help one another. In many places of the world, it's just one-on-one. It's just your family. It's just your friends. It's just your neighbors. And
it wasn't that long ago that we were that way. Now, I was you and I haven't experienced that, but a mentor once told me it was the access to excess. And that's the truth. Yeah. But you talk to anybody that it's hard to come by nowadays. When I was younger, I would talk to guys that truly lived through the Depression, and they'll tell you, you had to be giving, you had to be, helpful, you had to be, what I mean? Everybody was relying on everybody,
Yeah. That's a beautiful thing.
It is.
I think it shows the strength of a community. A year ago almost, there was a tornado that came through Northwest Arkansas, and we just saw people helping one another. You didn't even have to know the people. You could just show up and say, "Can I help?" And they would be like, "Well, I don't live here either, but I'm just here helping." It was like that.
That's great.
And so I think we still live in a place here in Northwest Arkansas where there's a lot of that culture of people that just, if there's someone in need, no matter what kind of need it is, we help one another.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't want to try to paint a picture of, we're better or something of that nature. But and I've even had people from the north tell me this, you come to the southern states and it is very, Mayberry. People almost think they're phony baloney because they're so I've had guys tell, which I've grown up all my life. If you just pass somebody, you're on a country road, you at least do one of these.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You know what I mean? And most people, people that are not used to it, it kind of wigs them out a little bit when they first experience. But after a little bit of time, they're like, I can get used to this. And I hope we never lose that.
Yeah.
And you are, Northwest Arkansas is that way. I mean, it's and Arkansas in general, in most places, I'd have to say. Now, there's no place like Northwest Arkansas. And Northwest Arkansas is not a true representation of the rest of Arkansas.
No, that's true.
But one thing is collectively the same as, I think there's a lot of loving people in this state and a lot of people that are just, will bind together and help each other out.
Yeah.
So I hope we never lose that.
Yeah, I hope not too. I mean, we have a number of challenges. Our neighbors have a number of challenges. I think one of the things that I've appreciated in seeing this community is that people have their eyes open and they see challenges and at least address it and try to figure out, how can we come alongside people who are challenging? How can we, systematically do things that will help the whole? And then individually, there are people rallying beside one another all the time. The generosity that flows out of this area is unthinkable. It's unimaginable, how much people want to help others. And it's a beautiful thing. But the challenges are very real. It's not, to go back to the Mayberry idea, it looks like that, and our community's growing. It's beautiful. It's fantastic. We've raised our kids here. Our kids love it. And there are a lot of people in need and are struggling and hurting, and for a number of reasons. But again, I don't think anybody has their head buried in the sand about it.
Absolutely. Well, let's move forward a little bit. Now, this is area that kind of what we've talked about. So let's talk about the Asian Development Company. So where did that come about?
So that was an existing organization that I joined. There were a group of 4 Arkansas guys back in the 1990s who went to China when they had a big economic reform and openness to more.
Is this around? Oh gosh, I forgot it. And is this around like the Clinton era opening up?
That's right.
It was. What do they call it? Ross Perot fought against it. I remember in the elections as a young guy. I can't remember what it was called, but basically allowed competition among.
Yeah. In China, they really started to adopt more Western or capitalist market policies, and so they were open to foreigners coming in and starting businesses. And these 4 guys from Arkansas set out over there and went over and set up textile manufacturing out on the Tibetan Plateau. And so sourcing wool from nomadic herders and bringing that down and creating yarn, and then ultimately these really high-end home furnishings, big rugs and so forth and the Tibetan rugs are regarded as some of the highest quality rugs in the world.
I was not aware of that.
Yeah, if you ever get your hands on one, like, you'll know it.
Really?
Yeah.
Just a work of art.
They are. They're all hand knotted and just thick, and the wool is. You can pour a glass of wine on a wool rug, and it'll just dab up with a paper towel. Like, it's it's amazing.
Wow, that's cool.
So these guys were transitioning out, having been there for 12, 13 years, and so I came in as the next leader of the organization, I guess. And so we were doing manufacturing on that side, and most of our customers were East and West Coast kind of high-end home furnishing companies.
And
sadly, there was a thing that happened in 2007 and 8 with the housing crisis that also took the home furnishing industry with it.
Yeah.
And so we ended up closing those facilities in China. But an amazing experience, very complex.
Yeah.
A long way, like literally the other side of the world.
How much travel did you have to do?
I would go like quarterly. I would go over there for a couple weeks at a time, and there were there was a guy from Oklahoma who was our factory manager, but he spoke Mandarin and some of the Tibetan dialects, and so I never undertook, sadly, to learn Mandarin. I think it would have been a full immersion process to try to do it.
If I could go back and learn a language as a younger man, that's what I would. You never know where you're going in life. You know what I mean? But that would have benefited me very well if I had done that. But
yeah, I told my son the same thing when he was little, and he was talking about languages, and I was like, man, I think I'd go Mandarin at this point. If you're going to live in the U.S., maybe, Spanish makes the most sense on a day-to-day basis. But as you think about long-term, man, I'd put all the chips on China, and
I can tell you how many nights I've spent having to, and it would have been so much easier just being able to speak directly to them.
100%.
But hey, hindsight's 20/20, my friend.
Yeah, I know.
Well, that's cool. All right, so and then you go to, now this is a little bit what we talked about.
Yeah.
So Manna nutritive aid products. Yeah, please explain.
Okay.
That.
Yeah, this is where I feel like working on the Tibetan Plateau was amazing. Like being in the Himalayas and seeing the beauty of the people who live there and work at 17,000 feet, like that's their day, was incredible. And I wouldn't trade it, as complex as it was. And I mean, we still have Tibetan rugs in our house from that. So it's, I think about it every day. And as the housing crisis hit and we were, shutting down that company and those operations, a friend of mine called from Washington. He worked for a senator from Louisiana. And he said, hey, this organization called UNICEF just came through, and they're talking about this product. It's a peanut butter based product, and it's used to treat kids with severe acute malnutrition, and they need more of it. You want to help me do something to make more of it? And so I asked my wife if I could play with Mark, And and the funny thing was, like a week before, we had our third child.
And this just kind of things just seem to continually present themselves to you.
That's the story of my life, really. Is I'm not clever enough to figure many things out, and so I get drug along by invitations. But I do know that when there's an invitation, I have to pay attention to it. Like, I have learned that much over the years. So, and I'm pretty quick to say yes to invitations because I figure that's a sign that I should pay attention to it.
That's cool. So,
we'd had our third child 7 or 8 months earlier. And my wife was telling me the story. She was in the nursery, and she felt like the Lord gave her a vision of with a African mom and 7 kids in front of her, and she had 1 potato. And she said it was just as vivid as anything. And of course, we'd lived in Uganda previously, and so she said, "Well, Lord, if you want us to be involved in helping moms take care of their kids, we're in." No joke, a week later, Mark calls me and says, basically, moms need more of this product to be able to treat their kids who have been diagnosed with severe acute malnutrition. And that's what the product is. You can take it home. You don't have to be in the clinic. And so...
that's crazy.
Yeah, so that was March of 2009. And I asked my wife, can I play with Mark? And she said, I said yes to that last week. And so there we went, and 2 weeks later we were on the road learning what to do, how to do this, and talking to people and whatever. And in 2010, August of 2010, my family moved to Rwanda, because by that time then we had a product, and had selected a site to build a factory in Georgia here in the U.S., but we had to get that product approved by UNICEF and World Food Program. And there's standards on all of this. And so my family moved to Rwanda, and I conducted the efficacy study for the product. And so this product is like the middle of a Reese's cup. It's a sweetened.
It's tasty.
Oh my goodness, it's so good. So when a kid's diagnosed with severe acute malnutrition and they can be treated at home, then they'll get this product prescribed to them. It's called ready to use therapeutic food, which are RUTF for short. And so they'll eat just this food and breastfeed and drink water for 6 weeks. That's it. It's a treatment protocol. And Matt, if I can tell you the transformation of these kids. So if you're diagnosed with severe acute malnutrition, you're usually 6 months to 2 years of age. We have babies that are born at 7, 8 pounds, 9 pounds, monsters at 10 pounds, that kind of thing. I had 18-month-old kids that weighed 7 pounds. 18 months. Wow. Couldn't sit up, skin lesions.
You've seen in a lot of the, third world photography and stuff, where they're just honestly look like they're on the verge of death.
Yeah. And so sometimes they look like that. Sometimes they're, just have a variety of conditions.
Yeah.
And within a few days of this product, these kids, like, their skin starts to clear up, their hair changes color. Wow. There was one little boy named Ajid. He was 18 months old, couldn't sit up, couldn't walk, anything. Like, it was just so listless. Within the first week of the product, he could crawl.
Wow.
And I was like, what in the world?
That's awesome, man.
By the end of the 6-week protocol, he could run.
That's crazy.
And I'm like,
superfood.
I was seeing this with every one of them. There were like 14 or 15 kids. And
was it just packed full of just about every nutrient?
Yeah, that's exactly right. So it's peanut butter, which is protein, sugar for energy, a micronutrient blend that gives them everything their body's been lacking, and then usually a dairy powder it's for additional protein.
So this really was like manna.
No, I'm telling you, like it not only sustained these kids, but kids would grow like 50 to 60% of their body weight over 6 weeks they would gain. So kids would go from 7 pounds to 11 pounds in 6 weeks.
That's crazy.
Their skin changes color, their hair changes color, their muscle development comes. But not mostly, I mean, all of this is it's like this upward vortex of good. they start sleeping at night. Okay, so sick kids a lot of times want to nurse all the time because it's comforting, which means mom can't produce enough milk if the kid's just breastfeeding all the time.
Messes up a cycle.
Yeah, because it takes the woman's body time to recover and replenish, right? Mom's exhausted, depleted, which just sucks everything down further. But once that starts going the other way, that kid starts sleeping at night, mom starts sleeping at night. As breastfeeding is effective, it contributes to what the product is doing also. And it just, everything
changes everything. Game changes
everything. So we have these before and after pictures, or, through the 6 weeks, and you see not only the kid change, but the moms change.
That's awesome.
Like moms that are, every mom is afraid if they think their child is going to die.
Right.
Like that's just, it's universal. And as that child gets better, mom becomes a little more relaxed and less fearful. And then when that child is well, the mom is well. The whole family starts to become like. Anyway, it was an amazing thing to witness. And
is this still going on today?
Yeah, it's still going on. In fact, they were in the news recently for their a lot of their funding would come through USAID, and so they were one of the organizations that was affected when their contracts got pulled. And so there was product in the Georgia facility for about 400,000 kids waiting to be shipped that had the USAID logos on it and in USAID boxes. And USAID said, stop all work and you can't distribute that product because it has our name on it.
It's not good.
No, they eventually, within a few days of enough, it somehow a text got to the person making these decisions, whatever, and contract got reinstated. And I don't know where the status of it is now because they hadn't reinstated the contracts for the shipping companies and have to actually get it there, and the contracts for the people in the countries who are actually distributing the product. So
I'm glad to hear that.
It's still a very complex situation, but it truly, I like it. It's a life-saving product.
That's awesome.
Just one. That's
fantastic.
Yeah, it's amazing.
That's fantastic. I'm going to do more. You got me intrigued. I'm going to do more research on that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so what got you out of that? You moved over to Pure Charity?
Yeah, so we were in Rwanda, and then we had, as a company for Manna, we were looking at building a factory in Rwanda to produce this closer to where it was needed. And so kind of serving that central African region, or, Eastern DRC, Western Rwanda, Burundi area. Our board ultimately decided not to build the factory there. So our work was done in terms of the efficacy study. And so we were asked to move to North Carolina, where the headquarters was. Our factory was in Georgia here in the U.S. And, I remember as a kid, we moved around wherever Dad's job was. And I just asked the kids, do you guys want to move to North Carolina? And kids were 9, 6, and 3, I think, at the time. And they were like, what's that? What's North Carolina?
Yeah.
We don't know anybody. Like, we don't have people in North Carolina. We want to go back to Northwest Arkansas. And so I said, well, all right, let's go back to Northwest Arkansas and we'll figure it out. I think I'd put something maybe on Facebook that we were moving back to Northwest Arkansas. And a guy here called me and he said, hey, do you want to come and work for this organization called Pure Charity? And like most things, I'm like, what's that? I don't know what that is. And so it's a really cool technology company that was trying to connect businesses and nonprofits and do some fun things. And I was not a technology guy, but my job was to interface with nonprofits.
Right.
And so I just started talking to nonprofits locally and all across the country about how this technology could benefit them. And so that's what brought us back. But I had a job here in Bentonville before I even came back, which was amazing. And
yeah, that's huge.
And the guy was so nice. And I said, I said, when I get back, I need about a month just to get our feet under and get the family all settled and everything. He's like, you just show up when you're ready to start. And I just thought, man, who does that?
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I was at Pure Charity a little over a year. And I'll always think of it so fondly because it it was such a gift to our family at a hard time, because it was hard to leave Rwanda. We had really grown to love it, and when Manna decided not to build the factory there, it was hard for the family, and so it was a real gift to us when we had a place to land and a job to walk into.
Absolutely, that's amazing. So you've transferred over to, and you're doing both of these at the same time. You're the
So in this work with nonprofits with Pure Charity, I just started asking questions about local hunger and nutrition, because that's what I was so involved with Manna. So just asking questions here locally, and initially in Bentonville and in Benton County, been in Washington County, and kind of branch out into Madison, Carroll, find out what's going on. What are and like many people, you find out Arkansas has the highest rate of food insecurity in the country. It's like almost 1 in 5 people in the state of Arkansas struggles with food insecurity. And then, I mean, like most people, when you hear that for the first time, you're like, wait, what?
It's hard to hear, and this isn't a poke at the area, but I was astounded that Benton County, it in itself, which is really, that hurts a little, because as much as Benton and Washington counties have, to hear that these counties are suffering, or because don't get me wrong, it's horrible to see suffering anywhere. But with as much as is up here, people just don't assume in most cases.
Right.
I'll be honest with you, I'm guilty of that. Until we actually helped the Northwest Arkansas Food Bank for a few different things over the years, and they're good to tell you these statistics, and it just kind of takes the air out of you a little bit.
It does, and you and it's like everything. I mean, you hear the hard things, and it's hard to hear sometimes.
Yeah, but it's needed. You need to hear it.
You got to hear it, and then you kind of have a choice on do I walk away, or do I walk into it and see what I can do? And so we start asking questions of, where are the gaps, where are the needs, what would make sense to people. And through my work with Pure Charity, I'd learned about this volunteer events of packing meals, and an organization told me, hey, we have so many people, we're turning them away, and they were charging people, like, you had to pay to come and do this.
Yeah, wow.
And I mean, we pay to do most things.
Right, yeah.
I mean, we pay to go to the movie. Nobody expects to go to the movie for free, and be entertained, whatever. I mean,
everything has a cost.
I mean, yeah, because even Netflix finally said, man, you can't share passwords, like. So like, most things, there's an investment to it. And so, and this organization said we had 600,000 people pack meals last year, and we're turning people away. And I was like, time out. Wait, you're a nonprofit, right? And they're like, and I was like, okay. And so we came back talking to people about that, and they said, oh yeah, as a matter of fact, we do this like once a year here in Northwest Arkansas. That company comes down here and does it, and we'd love to do it more, but they only come once a year. So that kind of kicked off the idea of starting something here locally. So we called that company, said, hey, can we start something for you guys down here? They said, now where are you again? And I said, no, we're in Arkansas. And much like my high school reactions, like, where's that? And
where are they based out of?
Minnesota.
Oh, yeah.
And
up there.
And they said, well, we've got 100 other places we'd go before Arkansas. And I said, well, here's the thing. Arkansas's got the highest rate of food insecurity in the world's largest company, the world's largest protein company, and like this amazing trucking company that you see all across the country, like
don't hear,
and all of their friends, all of their friends are here. Like, this is a perfect place to do it. And they were like, no.
Really? There was pushback.
No, they said, no, we're not going to do that. And, tried with a couple other smaller organizations to partner with them to see what we could get going here. And everyone's like, no. And at that point, it's like, well, maybe this is a really bad idea. Maybe we should do something different, or maybe we should just figure out how to do it ourselves. And obviously we voted for the latter and said, let's see what we can do. But in our research and conversations, everyone was like, hey, if these meals are going to be packed here, can they stay here? Because Arkansas needs them. Our neighbors need them. And a lot of these other organizations would pack the meals, but then ship them around the world. Having lived around the world, understood that. But what we kept hearing was that people wanted the meals to stay local. And so then it's like, well, if we're going to pack meals to stay local, the meals should be designed for local people and not for an international market. And so we called up some folks at Tyson, and Tyson chefs graciously got involved and helped us design the first couple of meals that we packed for several years. And other people helped us with different things. And so when we launched the Pack Shack and had our first, what we call Feed the Funnel party for people to come together and pack meals, 900 people came to the first party.
Oh, wow.
Because they had all had a hand in it.
You have enough space for that?
Well, we had it at a big church that had a giant gymnasium with a roll-up door, so we could roll a forklift in and out, because we had like a truckload of rice and beans, or well, at the time it wasn't beans, but different products that had to be moved in with forklifts. And so, that kind of propelled the Pack Shack. And now 11 years later, we've worked in 43 states with almost 250,000 people to pack over 55 million meals. But it all came from, people participating and being part of the development of it.
So you're the ringleader of it?
I just showed up at all the conversations. And so I just kept showing up. And
that's crazy. So that's got to be, that's got to feel good.
It does feel good.
It's got to also be surreal almost.
It is. It's both of those things. Like, I'm so grateful for everyone who's participated. I'm amazed to see people all across the country who love their communities and their neighbors so much that they invest in hosting Feed the Funnel parties to do this. We have suppliers that, like, this means the world to them, that their products are being used, for something like this. We work with a local seasoning company now, and it's so important to their team, because with any job, even if you work in the work that I do, some days can just feel kind of,
you get caught in the day-to-day.
I'm just doing the routine,
just a cog in the wheel.
Yeah. And then somebody reminds you that, what you do, how you, if you do your job well, this is going to help people. Or the job that you do every day is important for these reasons.
Work as you work unto the Lord.
100%. Yeah, people are like, and I've had box manufacturers cry, literally, because they didn't understand if they designed a better box that could save us $0.015 per box, that over the course of time, that would translate into how many meals, maybe thousands of meals that could be packed for somebody. And they never knew that cardboard could make a difference in somebody's life. I'm like, no, everything makes a difference. Everything's important. Everything can help. And so don't minimize the value of your work and the importance of your work. It's absolutely critical.
That's amazing. Do we have any, just quick, do you have by chance any idea, you've said how many million?
55 million meals and counting.
Do we have any idea on like pounds of protein and stuff like that? Did you ever keep track of any of that?
We could go and dig it up, but
it's crazy.
Yeah, 55 million meals every meal.
You must have crazy good testimonials too. There must be people all over. That's true impact. That really is.
There's a few different things that happen. The people who come to pack meals at a Feed the Funnel party, are impacted by the experience, because we talk about, these meals are going to go to neighbors in need in your community, and the organization that's hosting the party is selecting those organizations in their community. So then we'll ask, let's say it's a local food bank, we're going to ask that local food bank to come and talk about why these meals are important. So it gives context to what's being done. It's not just, hey, let's go do something. It's like there's a context for it that people can relate to. There's not a person who thinks it's okay for people to go without food. Like, that's just not, that's almost anti-human if we say that, right? Like, every world faith has taken care of the hungry and those in need, kind of as one of the central tenets of loving your neighbor, right? So it gives everyone context for that what they're doing in this activity is really important to people, and that the meals that they're making are going to serve their neighbors in need. Like, that's huge. And then it's so much fun. Like, it's a great team building experience for people. It's a great missions activity for a faith-based organization. It's high school students across the state of Arkansas and many other states need service hours. And so they get to, so it serves a lot of those needs.
How do people, let's stop right there.
Yeah.
Let's do a plug.
Yeah.
How do people get involved?
Well, so really easy, thepackshack.org. Here locally in Northwest Arkansas, we have a facility in Cave Springs, our Feed the Funnel Experience Center. So you can bring your team up to 75 people to pack meals. We've got a disco ball, and we'll cook meals for everybody that comes in so they can actually taste what they're going to be providing to the community. So super easy. But then most of our work is we're going to someone's facility. Like we come to your office, we come to your place of worship, we could come to your school or university, and that's the majority of what we do and what takes us all over the country. And you can find out all that information on the website as well.
Packshack.org.
Packshack.org.
Packshack.org. Oh, that's awesome. So let's talk about Neighborly.
Let's talk about Neighborly. Okay, so Neighborly is an outflow of the Pack Shack. So when we started the Pack Shack, we said we're a food production organization. We're gonna make really great food for people. The Pack Shack does it through volunteers and distribution through food assistance channels in local communities. Neighborly, we have our own production facility here in Cave Springs with those stainless steel machines making noise, and it's a long time dream of mine. And then these meals are distributed.
You've come full circle.
I know it, right? Like my wife was like, "You must love going to work and seeing those machines." I'm like, the only thing better than seeing them is hearing them, But then we see these meals coming off of the line, and they're distributed. We have our online store at neighborlyfoodco.com.
Servings.
Then we're in a number of retailers, including over 40 Walmart locations around the area. But the idea is on these meals, and we started this actually in 2018, and then we were going to launch a line of products with a retailer in March of 2020. and that was going to be packaged under their brand with a give back to the Pack Shack. Well, things changed in March of 2020. They said no new product introductions, and so we revisioned this and decided to make a meal that was all plant-based, clean label, allergen, gluten, dairy free. Had to taste great, but we take the world's most common meal of rice and beans and put the world's best flavors with it. So we've started with these four, of course, a classic Louisiana style red beans and rice, a Southwest chili black beans and rice, and then we're starting to fill in our global flavor map with the tikka masala black beans and rice, and then this one's the Thai yellow curry red beans and rice. And additionally, these meals are easy to prepare. They're delicious, affordable. I think at Walmart, these are $2.50 a bag for 5 servings, which is amazing. To find a clean product that's healthy,
that's
filling. But then we set Neighborly up similar to Newman's Own. So 100% of profits go back to help organizations that address food insecurity.
I know everything that's in the ingredients.
Yeah, that's the thing is like, you find when you can take a lot of things out of products, and by doing so, you actually add a lot of flavor by taking things out. And so these are all just, herbs and spices that you'll find on the ingredient list, and the flavors are amazing. And again, we're working with our seasoning company that's based here in Northwest Arkansas.
That's just fantastic. Yeah. Simple to make too. Boil, add the flavor, simmer, and then eat.
Yeah, so last night I made the tikka masala that you're holding. I stopped by the store and picked up a rotisserie chicken for $7 and had the rotisserie chicken, put it in with the tikka masala and sauteed some vegetables on the side and had
$10 meal for the
$10 meal, and we had leftovers.
You can't go to Taco Bell for that.
No, and why would you?
Exactly.
I mean, but that's $10. There were three of us. Three of us at the table last night, and we have leftovers, and it's healthy, and it's easy.
It's got pure ingredients, and it's nice. Low, it's low sugar. It's got carbohydrates, but it's got good carbohydrates in it. So that's great.
Yeah, and that's Arkansas rice in there as well.
Oh, nice. So local.
Yeah, absolutely. We're supporting Arkansas farmers.
That's fantastic.
Just on the education side, I was down at the Arkansas Rice Council annual meeting a few weeks ago in Stuttgart. 50% of rice grown in the U.S. is grown in Arkansas.
Yeah, Absolutely.
You know, I say that because a lot of people have moved here from other places, right? And may not know, like, this is foundational to our state.
I knew that because I'm from L.A., Lower Arkansas.
That's right.
Yeah, no, I knew that. I believe we also have a high percentage of spinach production as well. Spinach, and there's something else we do. I'm trying to
Ducks.
Yeah, ducks. Yeah, we do a lot of ducks. That's awesome. Well, that's fantastic. So where can people get a hold of these products?
Yeah, you can get them online at neighborlyfoodco.com. If you're in Northwest Arkansas area, check your local Walmart, several Harps locations, Ozark Natural Foods in Fayetteville, Aikens and Rogers. If you're all the way out in Harrison, we're in Nature's Wonders, both in Harrison and Branson.
That's awesome. Where'd you come up with the name? I'm pretty sure I know, but
well, yeah, our hashtag, which we have here for the Pack Shack, has always been "Be Neighborly." So, what we're always encouraging is kind of what we were talking about beforehand of our hope in our communities is each other. That's really the thing. And so we, when hard times come, which they come for all of us in one form or another, isn't it nice when you have neighbors around
Amen.
To help out?
Yeah.
And, we've all had our times of need. And it's so amazing when people come around and say, how you doing? How can I help? So to us, be neighborly means, know your neighbors. That's not we don't rush past that one. Like you got to be involved in someone's life, present, and say hi to people, and don't just pull in the garage and close the door, but actually know so know your neighbors, understand the struggles and challenges they're facing, which if we haven't owned up to the fact over the last 5 years that we all have struggles and challenges, when you see someone's struggles and challenges, or someone sees yours, isn't it nice that we show compassion toward one another?
100%.
And not judgment, like, oh man, I can't believe this or that.
Yeah.
And just
lift each other up.
And have compassion, because it's hard enough, without pointing fingers at each other and poking each other in the chest.
One of the terms I hate the most is when somebody says that they're self-made. There's no such thing. No such thing. That does not exist somewhere along the line.
No, because then when they crash and burn, it's sure not going to be their fault. But, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Self-made, awesome. Destroyed by others. Anyway, I digress. So after it's one thing to be compassionate. It's another thing to take action.
Yeah.
Right. And so we put on our website, for the Pack Shack, the story of the Good Samaritan.
Yeah.
Which some people walk on past, but it says this person sees the need, stops, and helps,
and goes above and beyond, and then asks somebody else to help. And then he says, if for whatever reason you help more than I expected, I'll make sure to help you out when I return.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful story as a full circle.
Yeah,
of how we need to be.
Yeah, it is, and that's really the thing that I think. So some people will say, in different circles or whatever, they may say, "Love your neighbor." We say, "Be neighborly," just because it. And someone says, "What do you mean by that?" And it's really.
It was thought provoking.
It's not.
I asked.
It has to go. It has to go to action.
Yeah.
I think in the Christian scriptures it says, if you see someone in need and say, "Go, I wish you well," what have you done? And so that's why we have to take action. We have to wrap it all up. Neighbors help one another. Neighbors are there for one another. They
absolutely. They put their faith into action. When somebody says, "I'm starving," you say, "Oh." You don't say, "Well, I'll be praying for you." You say, "Let me get you some food."
Yeah.
Now prayer is great.
Prayer's great.
But, a starving person needs more than prayers.
Yeah.
So, man, I think this is just great.
Yeah. So neighborly. So, to go back to community, there's a company that they're a global branding and marketing company based here. And they'd called up to see if they could come in and pack meals with the Pack Shack. And we were in this, time of developing what would become neighborly, and I said, yeah, we'd love for y'all to come in and pack meals. I said, what do you guys do as a day job? Aren't you like a marketing, branding kind of company? And they said, yeah. And I said, would you guys help us with something else? And we pitched the idea to them, and they were so generous and so kind.
That's awesome.
And they said, tell us your story, tell us everything, and so they came up with a number of different concepts, but they were like, Neighborly's our favorite. We think Neighborly Food Co. And they came up. So to say, we did this. Now, we, the collective, have and are doing this. And there's not a thing that happens at Neighborly that is not a we.
Yeah.
There's so many people that are involved in this in different ways, and most of them because they want to see it succeed.
That's fantastic.
And, I just have the opportunity to wake up every day and go to work on it. Mm-hmm. And really, a lot of my job is just inviting others, much like I've been invited to so many things in my life, is to invite others to be part of something. And whether it's Neighborly or the Pack Shack or just something, be involved in something that is going to, allow you to live out who you are and to make the world a little bit of a better place. Not just a little bit better, but dramatically better. It doesn't have to be a big dramatic thing, but we just don't know what the impact is on someone when we take action to be involved in someone's life, to encourage, to provide assistance. There's a quote that I paraphrase out of an old distant scripture, but the son is asking the father, what good does it do to help people? Why should I help people? That's a legit question. It's not a bad question. I mean, we see that question being thrown around today quite a bit. Like, why should we help other people? They should take care of themselves, whatever. The father, in his wisdom, says your service to others is stored up for your day of necessity. And I think that's, if I had to sum it up about why neighbors are so important and about community is so important, it's because we're all going to have days that we have a need. It may have to do with food, it may not. But it sure is great when there are people who know us and who love us. And it's great when we can be the people who know others and who love others in their time of need. That's what being human is about, and living into our full identity as humans and as God's children.
Amen. Gosh, I can't think of a better way to wrap this up, Bret.
Well, I mean, there could be an invitation song. If we're doing that, I feel like I got a little preachy right then.
Just as I am.
Yeah, that's a classic. Yeah, you can't go wrong.
Well, I want to say thanks again for coming on. I have thoroughly enjoyed this. You guys go check out Neighborly. I'll be honest with you guys, it's going to be hard for you guys to see it, even though the show is now on 4K. It's still going to be hard to see the deliciousness this looks like. I hope I can take one of these home.
Those are all for you to have and to share with the team here. And then the red and the purple bags, or orange and purple bags, are what you can find on the Walmart shelves. Those will be easy in the rice and bean section. And then at other retailers, you can find different collections depending on how many they've given us the opportunity to put on the shelf at this point.
That's awesome. Well, you guys check out Neighborly. Also check out the Pack Shack. What's Neighborly's website?
NeighborlyFoodCo.com.
NeighborlyFoodCo.com. You guys check them out. You on social media channels?
We are.
All right, you guys go give Neighborly some likes and comments, and go give the Pack Shack some likes and comments. This has been a great podcast. Bret, thank you again for coming on.
Thanks. So nice to meet you.
Yeah, brother.
Now we know each other.
Yeah, we do. You'll come on again?
Yeah, I'll keep you informed.
That's all I need to know.
All right.
Thanks, Bret.
Thanks, Matt.